How's it going, guys? Thanks for tuning in to this Idea Chat with Elite Daily. A little bit about IDEA, the innovative and disruptive entrepreneurship accelerator. It is the biggest entrepreneurial initiative here on campus. It all started with the question, why aren't more students starting businesses? After 2 years, IDEA has grown into a machine that helps you connect to all the right people and get to the places you need to go fast. I'd like to introduce to you Jonathan Francis, the COO of Elite Daily. He, along with David Scott, founded Elite Daily a little over 2 years ago. And since then, Elite Daily has become the fastest growing website for Generation Y. Today, we'll be talking about how Generation Y looks at the media. How's it going, Jonathan?
Hello, glad to be with you out here, Serge. Is everything?
Everything's good, can't complain. All right, let's start off. What would you say is the inspiration behind Elite Daily?
I think my biggest inspiration was really how media is being served. In terms of, there's a lot of publications out there like HuffPo, Maxim, GQ, and there have always been, kind of like these publications that were passed down to us. We're stuck within this really rigid AP format that alienated a lot of our generation as ADD, and just kind of having a sense of wanting to create a platform where you could, be entertained, learn, discover things about dating. Um, and, we strive to make sure that we speak to our readers and, not at them. And with that, we've been able to kind of turn this platform into, the voice of Gen Y.
Awesome. I like how you describe Elite Daily as a platform for Generation Y. Could you go into a little about that?
Yeah. I mean, so the voice of Gen Y isn't, us 30 or us two sitting in a room. Right now we have about 600 contributing writers from all over the world. So we have voices from Jakarta, Indonesia, the Philippines, Syracuse. And, it's been really interesting to kind of see the common themes and outlooks for our generation and a lot of issues going on in the world. From people that I've never even met, or people that have completely different socioeconomic backgrounds. So in that sense, that's how we proclaim ourselves as the voice of Gen Y. And then oftentimes we do touch contentious or provocative topics, but at the same time, we always invite kind of anyone who has an opinion or reaction to post their own articles, just so we make sure that there's always a multitude of opinions on the site.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit more about Elite Daily and the growth that you guys have seen since you started?
Yeah, I actually have a cool slide that I'll pull up in a second. Um, so, I mean, we started, three of us, you were a part of this as well. And, from back in the time when we were doing this out of Starbucks or our living room, we just wanted to create a platform that, we loved first and foremost. And I think the biggest difference between us and other publications is that we have, authors and editors, and our whole staff is of the generation. Um, so with that, we set out. Syracuse was a really big market for us at first. But at the same time, we just kept pushing and pushing, and regardless of whether we had funding for more writers or none of us were necessarily you know authors, editors. We didn't come from the tech world. We weren't journalism majors. But at that same time, we were able to create this platform, that we were very passionate about. Um, so with that, we were able to grow from our first month. You know, we did about 30,000, and then to date last month we did about 14 million, and we are on track to double that this month. So we're definitely growing very quickly to kind of gain the attention of some people who might have discredited us initially, but we're definitely excited to keep building this up.
It's awesome. Would you say the aim of Elite Daily has changed since you first set out with the idea?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's evolution in everything. But when we first set this out, it was just a bunch of guys, and we wanted to kind of talk about everything from the coolest cars and entrepreneurship values and entertainment and dating. Um, so we started off just as something that we liked first, but then with the audience kind of growing and the contributor writing base growing, we're able to see that there's a huge opportunity for us to really open this up, and whether it's maturing in the content and evolving the editorial process, we've always been able to kind of to grow with the process. And so we've changed a lot. We're about 50-50, 60-40 on a good month, male female. Sometimes we'll be more female dominated, but that just goes to speak that we're slowly creating a platform that is speaking to the generation and not just one niche group of college students or men or women.
Okay. Well, a lot of commentary on Gen Y is, Gen Y is lazy, Gen Y is entrepreneurial, Gen Y this, Gen Y that. What are your thoughts on Generation Y?
I mean, I feel like we have a good perspective of it first because, everyone in our company is between the ages of 19 and 25. I'm the grandpa, I'm 27, but our CEO is 23. Um, so with that we've hired a lot of different young kids, and it's been really interesting to see kind of like where their background is, what education they have, and for the most part, a lot of Gen Y can be entitled, and that's due to the part that we were raised really well and like raised in a good time and able to have a lot of comforts and technology to help us progress things. But at the same time, there's a lot of I think Gen Y is really inspired by their peers. So if you're, surrounded by lazy people or people who are copacetic and things like that, you're going to kind of give off, that kind of energy. But as long as you surround yourself with good people, we've seen people who were never particularly brilliant in school or didn't have really successful companies before, kind of take a 180 and really start to excel. So for the most part, they are lazy, unfortunately. But at the same time, you can't generalize a whole generation. It's just impossible. So, as long as kind of like you're getting the right people from the right place, inspiration will be all around them.
Okay. Would you say, or what would you say that we do better than previous generations?
I mean, technology is our advantage. We're quick to search for facts and to build our own opinions. One of the cool things about Elite is like we don't just give you this AP format kind of barrage of here's the facts and this is how you have to take it. Um, we'll more so kind of offer a multitude of different opinions. We will try to let Gen Y form their own kind of conclusions. So that's why we never like to pigeonhole ourselves in, one set of political ideology or anything like that.
Okay. Would you say that technology could also be sort of detrimental to our generation in the sense that maybe we're not as hardworking as the previous generations?
Um, I think it does, the access to technology does make us a little bit lazier in the sense that, we don't have to leave the house to do a lot of things, or we don't have to get, away from the computer. I don't have to actually be there with you right now to conduct this thing. Um, but at the same time, it sparks a lot more innovation, and especially within tech. I think it's like a really cool industry, but we're able to, conquer problems that didn't exist 20 years ago, and that's how it's always been with technology. So it's definitely not detrimental, but we have Twitter. It's the upside.
Yeah. All right, so as the voice of Generation Y, Elite Daily upholds a certain standard. So what the message, could you just explain more on the message that you're trying to give your readers?
Message you're trying to give our readers. I mean, it's not always fair to me to say like this is the concrete message. It's more so just being able to be the platform for these different voices. I think is something that we're striving towards right now. Um, Being able to say that hey, we're not all lazy or we're not all crying that the job market isn't fair and something that's happening when we were first starting this was like all that Wall Street protester thing was going on, and while the economy is terrible and all that stuff is happening, I refused, and everyone that was here, we refused to kind of subscribe to this idea that life's unfair, that 1% is over there, and so they're kind of they're the problem. I always believe that self initiative is the most important thing, hands down. So that is the message right there. It's not so much to depend on anything or our culture or technology. It's always to kind of break outside your comfort zone, and it's always to change. So Elite Daily, the reason we chose the name was because we wanted to kind of change the connotation of the word elite. as opposed from it being, the 60-year-old oligarch sitting away in his estate. We kind of wanted to define elite as any turning point in your life that you decide to start following your dreams. So, whether someone was an athlete and they started to, pursue entrepreneurship or music, or, you were working as a fry cook and, you started to learn how to code, breaking out of that first set of ideology that you're raised with is kind of how we define elite.
Awesome. So the way, how would you sort of describe how Gen Y is looking at the media through what you've seen through the successes of Elite Daily and being able to reach such a wide variety of people?
Um, um, the thing is, you know, we're we're difficult to reach, because we're seeing a lot past, kind of traditional advertising. We're seeing through like these obtrusive forms of marketing, and we also have really bad ADD. You know, so it's like you got to kind of really catch your audience on the spur. The marketing of everything is paramount to none. So it's just like making sure that you're hooking on these, the readers with, you know, catchy headlines, pretty imagery. um, you gotta hook them in first, and you gotta keep them engaged. We don't want our readers to kind of go through. I think we lost Serge. We don't want our readers to read anything on our website and be unaffected. We want them to either want to have a response, or to agree or to share. Did we lose Serge?
Hey, Jonathan.
Sorry about that.
Hey, we lost Serge.
Sorry,
So some of you already know who I
Serge.
am. My name is Tony. I'm essentially Serge's boss. And while we're waiting to get him back on screen, let's actually take a question from our audience. So it looks like Andrew Reese asks, how did you come up with the idea for Elite Daily, and how have you taken it to a point where you have a huge following?
I think so. The idea was kind of what we spoke about earlier, but it was just that, when I went online, I never kind of had a destination where I was like, oh, this is genuinely mine. I'd read HuffPo, I'd read Reuters, Maxim, but it was always kind of like a little bit older for me. So with that, we wanted to create something that truly we identified with. And, in terms of growing it, just making sure it's something you love, because it's never like every good entrepreneurship story. It's not about the money at first, and it's not about really anything fancy. It's just loving what you do, and loving that the people that you're working with every day. So that's the only thing that works.
That's what's up.
Sorry,
I
sir.
think we have another question. Um, what's our next question? I thought we had another question. All right. Well, I'm out.
Thank
Serge, take
you.
it away, man.
Thank you, Tony. All right, so right before I got cut off, you were talking about the the ADD generation, or us being a
Yeah,
generation of ADD guys. So
yeah.
could you sort of explain if you, because I could tell that you were talking about it in a positive light, but
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely not a negative thing, and I think the ADD generation kind of goes beyond just kind of like the medical terminology of it. It's like 140 characters or less, and who's got the better headline. The interesting thing about the internet now is there's not so much loyalty in terms of where you can get the news, and where it comes from, and who's there to break it first. So I mean, fueled by technology, and fueled by waking up to 30 emails or two new Snapchats, we're gonna keep evolving the way that we kind of process our data internally. So I think it's a great thing. I can't wait to. I'm a big fan of Ray Kurzweil. I can't wait to like download my phone into like myself, and merger technologies. The ADD generation is everything's only going to get quicker. That's why we work so hard to capture our audience. With every headline, with every image, with every article.
yeah, and media is ever changing. It's not slowing down anytime soon.
It's
Where do you
exponential.
sort of, yeah, where do you sort of see media taking its turn to? Like, in what direction do you see is most effective
Yeah.
in capturing, readers
Mhm.
or
I mean, I think the next biggest thing is just video. We've done a lot of emphasis on building out editorial and really honing in on our voice and our platform. But the next thing for sure is going to be video. Um, you know, YouTube is a huge case study, and all of the TVs are starting to have Wi-Fi. So, I feel like in terms of like broadcast media, that might shift away from kind of the traditional slot formats and go just like straight online. So I mean that's overall, but I mean it's just being a source that can get the news out first to the audience. So we don't have to break the news, but we need to put our own spin on it. We have to explain why it affects us, why it affects you, and just being that source that always stays true to that voice in that sense will help us sustain at least.
okay. One of our viewers just said having catchy headlines is a huge reason for people to look at articles. It happens to me all the time. And Elite Daily is known for having some of the catchiest headlines out there. Could you
It's
just yeah,
it's not
where do
about
they
the
come from?
wheel; it's about the rim. So we have one guy who's a bit of a literary genius. He does all our titles. There's just a thing. It's like the best part about us is we are our own audience. So it's like at the end of the day, we'll come up with three, four titles and be like, "Would you click this?" And if we hesitate for half a second, then we pass and move on to the next one.
Yeah. And going back to video, could you explain sort of how you're or how Elite Daily is using that to their advantage? Are you guys telling a story through original content, or you do a lot of
Yeah,
interviews with a lot of influencers?
yeah. I mean, since we're only about a year and a half old, almost 2 years old, video's been kind of like our next transition. But just it's the easiest way to really create like a tangible look and feel for the brand. So I mean, moving more into video, we definitely do plan to kind of do short documentary style things, kind of like in the line that Vice does, but at the same time, creating listicle content that's through video, kind of like how BuzzFeed does. Um, and the more video content, the better. It helps tell the story, and it's highly shareable, and we can monetize it better. So the more video that we can get into is definitely the approach that we're going to take. And we're going to build out a studio next year, so you will definitely be seeing a lot more video from us.
Awesome. I I mean, I'm a huge fan of Man on the Street. I know,
Syracuse finest.
yeah, good old Tyler Gilden. So, and your writers, you have 600 contributing writers from all over the world, and
Yeah.
they're very engaging
Uh,
across the board. In terms of like sharing their content and putting it out there. How do you man that machine?
First, it started with me, David, and a few of us. I know you were there. We used to just pump out articles. No one wanted to write for us. No one wanted to click. No one wanted to share, tweet. So it was like a tough thing. And just out of kind of necessity, we started to do our best at creating editorial. Um, and I think a big part of like scaling that up from us three to like more than 600 was making sure that we took feedback from the commentary that we were getting, and we reached out to these people individually, and we made sure that they wrote responses. Um, so the more that people were able to see that, hey, this is a voice for our generation, as opposed to all right, they only talk about democratic politics, or they only talk about men's based dating and sex things. It became pretty much a universal platform. We've pretty much been getting massive increase in contributing writers every day. And as we grow, the process is evolving, but at the same time, it's we need to be as open to the people as possible, so we can call ourselves the voice of Genoa.
Okay, very nice. And one of our readers or one of our viewers tuned in and said sometimes there is racy content on Elite Daily. Have you guys ever had a pushback resulting from some of the more titillating articles?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for better or for worse, we never want anyone to read an article and just be like obtuse and, move on from it. We either want them to have a reaction, share a friend, send us an email. As we've evolved and as we've built our editorial team, we've definitely started to mature in the sense of the content. But at the same time, we're not gonna censor ourselves in a way that, it constrains us from our own voice and from our own opinion. Um, so I mean, we're getting better. We're getting better. We're a lot better than we were, a year or so back. But I mean, the ideas grow, the platform grows, the users grow. So we can't stick to necessarily 1% of the 1% of that user base's opinions. We have to kind of open it up, and that's been the key thing in helping us kind of like mature our content.
Okay. Do you have any stories on emails you've gotten, maybe like funny ones or ones where you really inspired someone?
I mean, yeah, so we get a lot of a tremendous amount of feedback. We've had some guys out of the Middle East start their own magazine called Gulf Elite. We've had, gotten stories of people that were inspired to get out of their relationship and start their own, startup that they've always wanted to do. I mean, we're just always flattered when people find inspiration in us to kind of change the direction in their life because, we were all doing something before this, whether it was school or other jobs, and it was really hard to kind of take that leap of faith. But as much as we can, write provocative content to spark that in other people, is the most important part of this thing.
Yeah, awesome. Could you speak on the culture of a startup since you've experienced it firsthand
Ooh,
from
this is my favorite part. The culture. So I mean, it's a tremendous sacrifice in the sense that you're not coming in here for a big paycheck or you're not coming in here for a fancy title. Um, we've had people leave different big companies and stuff and join us and make that sacrifice with us. But it was because of the culture. So one interesting thing that we do is that we will vet people out for about like 2 months before they join us, whether it's drinks or joining in on meetings or being a contributing writer. When we decide to bring someone on to our staff, we never want it to be a short-lived experience because we feel like we didn't do our part, like doing our due diligence or exposing you to kind of like what this place is going to be like. Um, because it's not a 9 to 5. This is a 7 day week thing. Not for everyone necessarily every day, but when your time is called, you can't flinch when it's time for you to put in your work. So um, and that's the most fun part about this thing too. It's not always you know, you don't look at the hits. You look at, all right, I enjoy coming to work every day. I love these people I work with. Like we have fun. We drink together. We go out together. We do the Hamptons together. And getting to create that is definitely something that I enjoy most.
It's awesome. And from when you start out, it's rough. Like you said before, like many people weren't tuning in, but then
Oh,
it
you
sort
you
of,
know how rough it was, man.
oh yeah, I remember the
Yes,
days.
so yeah, Serge has been in there with us since we were working out of the apartment and catching Wi-Fi at Starbucks and doing all that kind of stuff. But it was a sense that like it was really like when you don't know what else, not when you don't know what else to do, but kind of like when you're out of options and you can't be like, oh well, I can fall back on school, I can fall back on this job. Kind of when you have this tunnel vision of, all right, shit, this is the only thing I can do right now because this is the only thing that is somewhat satisfying and makes sense. Um, so that's all it is. And as we grow, it's a challenge to like you got these new people coming in versus those guys that have been here with us since day one, and just trying to like adapt that culture, across everyone as you scale up.
Yeah. And how or what was your vision when you started Elite Daily? Like why would you say vision could be one of the more valuable things an entrepreneur
um,
can have?
I mean, I don't want to call myself a visionary. I'm not Steve Jobs or anything like that. But I mean, it's like that moment of clarity. It's like my parents weren't particularly happy about what I was doing because they didn't understand tech. They're like, "How are you making money? Like, what are you selling?" I'm like, "I don't know, like clicks or, we didn't have a tech background or anything." Um, but it was just kind of like just having anything that you find tunnel vision in, you'll be great. Like I have friends who were in bands and they weren't necessarily the great bands, but they had tunnel vision and 3 4 years down the line they were the most successful bands kind of like in their scene. So it's nothing about, kind of like, oh, well, this is where I think I can make the most money. It's like, it's like street artists or like whatever you love, just do it. And that's like the cheesy way out of the answer, but like until you fall in love like that, you don't know, how else to describe it.
Yeah, and I guess going over to parents, how would you say, our Gen Y's parents sort of propelled our generation? Like, was it
Um, First off, they were like way too good of parents, and that's like the weirdest like complaint you could ever have. But I mean, there's certainly stats of college students living back at home for longer phases of time, having older children back at home, things like that. And I think, well, on one end, it certainly makes you, can kind of cause some of that comfort bubble thing that's a cousin of death. But at the same time, they give you the ability to like, start these things, to make these sacrifices. You want to have your first startup before you have, real obligations. Like, you can be a couch surfer, you can be, you can be catching the free Wi-Fi. But if you have like a wife and kids, and you were like, our parents moved out of the house earlier than we did, and they were propelled kind of like into this adulthood thing way quicker. Um, it's never a disadvantage, but at the same time, it gives a lot of our generation a cushion to fall back on. So it took me 25 years to kind of figure out what we were supposed to be doing. So, whenever you find it, just be happy with it.
all right, we have a question here. So, what is the monetization strategy for Elite Daily? How do you monetize Gen Y in general? We've been known to avoid paying for things.
Um, yeah, so I mean, we have a model that's like based on display and pre-roll ads, but it's like Facebook. Like no one clicks a Facebook ad unless you're like drunk. So these traditional forms of advertising are quickly becoming like outdated. Things like sponsored content, like native advertising, is going to be really big. Like we did something for USA Suits, like that TV show, and we wrote like the 10 lessons of Harvey Specter, and if they can integrate the brand messaging directly into the content, that's your best way to go about it. But we've had tremendous supporters with us since we started this about in February. They taught us really how to monetize this thing. And since then we're staying lean, bootstrapped, but at the same time trying to monetize. Surge again with this Wi-Fi. Let's see what happens now. There he goes.
Oh, there he is.
Surge. My free Wi-Fi in Starbucks was better than.
Jonathan.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what's up with Surge, man.
Hey man, it happens. It happens. It's that free Wi-Fi. That's
It's
what
all
it
good.
is. It's the
I
free
mean, look,
Wi-Fi.
you can't hate it. It
It's
was
the,
free,
that free
You,
Wi-Fi.
you shift your shoulders to the left a little bit and you lose it.
Okay. All right. So you know what? I actually have a question.
Yeah.
So I work with IDEA, and IDEA works with students to help them grow and take their ideas to the next level. What advice do you
Yeah.
have for students who are afraid to take that first step?
Ooh, I mean, I personally had some like some hard lessons. Especially living out in the city, it's like you kind of get sucked into this thing where like you're supposed to be this person. You know what I mean? Whether it's like going out or like dressing a certain way or surrounding yourselves with these people, um, and none of that will help your business. So like that's like as like a part of our regiment, we've no, we don't really go out. We don't do any of that stuff.
Hmm.
And in terms of being afraid, it's like you're gonna become a boxer. You're gonna get punched in the face, and the sooner that happens, and the sooner you taste your own blood, the hungrier you're gonna want to be at
Mm.
winning.
Mm.
So I had thought I wanted to be an entrepreneur when I was in college, and but I wasn't actually trying. I wasn't giving it not my all, but I wasn't like believing in myself,
Mm.
and that was like the trickiest thing, and that's the hardest thing in the world to do for
Yeah.
anyone. Whether it's like public speaking or whatever, chasing your dreams. It comes within self. Um, so my biggest thing would be is just take yourself out of like kind of your own perspective. and just jump, like jump fast. Because the sooner you jump, the sooner you'll hit the ground, and then you can run back up the mountain and try again.
It's wise words from a wise man. I like that advice. I
I hit the pavement a couple times, so I just say, you know what I mean?
But you got back up, and that's the important part, right?
That's the fun part, you know. Is
That's what's up.
when you know how when you know what it feels like, then you know why you want to work for it.
Yeah. So, what's next for Elite Daily? What do you guys have in the pipeline?
Oh, daily. I mean, I think everything up until this point has just been kind of the planting the seeds and putting water on the seeds and making sure there was sunlight every day. We're becoming, it's the first phase of us becoming like an actual, business, and whether it's going through rounds with investors or creating new technologies, hiring kind of more senior people.
Mhm.
Um, this is the part where it doesn't stop being fun, but now that we see how long the race is, now we're like ready to double down and really put our all. So next year, you're gonna see pretty much probably double the content in terms of video editorial. We're working a lot on technology to improve kind of the interaction and scaling up the contributing writers. We're going to be launching some journalism programs across the nation at different universities. Um, but I mean, this thing changes every day. If I know what it's gonna look like, and I can see it and I can feel it. But in terms of you I it's so exponential.
Mhm.
Within tech and kind of like the city and stuff that I'd be foolish to be like, all right, well, it's gonna be XYZ XYZ in
Hmm.
18 months. I can project, but who knows? Maybe some new crazy tech could come out and change everything.
Google Glass, maybe. Someone, Jake asked,
Oh, I don't know.
are you gonna stay online, or are you going to print it all?
Um, I mean, we certainly. So a big part of our like initial like ethos was like print is dead because I
Mm.
mean I don't ever pick up any print unless I'm like catching one on the subway, on the way to the subway to like make sure my hands don't get dirty on the rail. Um, but I mean, we do want to create an experience for our users in which like they get like kind of the tangible aspect. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't rule it out, but it's not within our immediate strategy,
Okay.
But it's just too early to say.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, for all of those that are watching and submitting questions, thank you. You can connect with Jonathan on Twitter. Whoops. You can connect with Jonathan on Twitter. Feel free to use the hashtag IDEAChatCNY. Share this with all your. Is this? Oh, I think we might have Serge back.
Surge.
Wait a minute. Whoa! Serge is
I'm
back.
back.
All
Bro,
right.
you missed the best part, bro.
Oh
I heard
man,
everything. I just couldn't see anything.
back. Okay. So I'm gonna get out of here then. Your Wi-Fi's good now, Serge?
Let's hope so.
I'm seeing like three surges. Like it's.
All right.
Thank you, Tony.
um, yeah,
All right,
man.
so
Our
right
our
before,
Starbucks Wi-Fi was better than yours, bro.
10 times better than mine. Right before I cut out, you were talking on sort of branded content and native advertising. Could
Yeah.
you explain more on that?
I mean, yes. I mean, Gen Y is filtering out kind of like these obtrusive forms of advertising or pop-ups and display ads and video ads. So I mean, we've seen a lot of success in native stuff. So like I said, for whether it's Motorola or Bacardi, creating stuff that actually identifies with their brand. I know it's a model that BuzzFeed already uses, but I mean, in a case study that we had with BuzzFeed head to head, we did the 10 lessons you can learn from Harvey Specter on Suits, and they did like the best 10 cats on in Suits, and they're a huge website and they're great, and they've definitely paved the way for sites like us. But at the same time, we feel that it's super important to make sure that we're returning value back to the brands and actually causing some kind of correlation between whatever we're putting in front of the audience and the brand that's sponsoring it. So the less obtrusive and cheesy it can be, the more successful it will be.
Okay, that's awesome. Aside from Suits, have you worked with any other cool companies, branded content?
Yeah, I mean, tons like Hulu, Bacardi, Moto X, Levi's, on and on and on. It's the advertising stuff is fun, but it's just like it's
Yeah.
it just becomes a job. But yeah, I mean, so it's cool because like we'll work with our content team and they'll have the content meetings and they'll build the content themselves as opposed to me saying like, hey, you're gonna write the 10 reasons that Moto X is the best phone. It's got to be something that the writer connects with and that the end user connects with. It's like music or art. If it's authentic, you can feel that and that resonates with the viewer. But if it's like contrived and forced, you can always kind of pick that one out of the line very easily.
Okay. All right. We have a question from a viewer. We know there's no magical formula for creativity, but as an entrepreneur, how do you translate a passion into a viable business model?
Viable business model, man. So for us, it was just surrounding ourselves with smart people who would done it in the space that we were playing in. Because we knew that we could outwork everyone in the sense of just being there every day and putting in the hours. But we really had some like key people that we mentored us and really taught us how to you know create structure, how to build scale up the team, how to monetize the site. So I mean, the big thing about entrepreneurship is like you can be the best entrepreneur in the world, but if you ain't got no mentors, you're shit out of luck. You need to have people who've been there before, and that's something that's always resonated with us.
Okay. We have another question. What education would you choose for someone in Gen Y? Or if you would be able to customize a college degree, what would be in it?
Um, this is super interesting because I'm a little bit older than you, so I cut I only had one computer class. I'm sure you had more, but I mean, I think that things like Word should be replaced with HTML and Java. I think that there should be a certain fundamental skill set within tech and development. Um, and there should also be a lot more mentorship. So when I finished school, I went through all of school without really. I got through the process. I did well, but I never really, I wanted to. I was in pre-law and political science, but I had never, you know, worked or been, surrounded with these kind of people. So when I first got out and then I surrounded myself by these people, I was like, yo, I don't want to be like you at all. You know what I mean? So I think for your degree, you should have some kind of expertise or experience in it, and at the same time, they need to kind of not change the way that things are taught, but they definitely need to make it more applicable to, whatever that person's passionate about. They quantify us on metrics and performance and things like that. But, there should be some kind of rubric for how much of a risk taker you are or how resilient you can be and kind of overcoming these things like bad grades and you know trials and tribulations of a college student. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like those are the things that a lot of our generation goes through, but doesn't really, know how to handle that. And it's something that they go through more than anything, more so. You'll get a
yeah.
test 3 times a semester, but you'll be stressed out for an entire semester.
And
So,
all that sometimes teaches you is how to like do what you want to do and wiggle past the kind of minimum requirements of executing per their expectations.
yeah. So 500 minimum word essay, I'm probably writing 505 words, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah. So exactly, and um, I think there's really cool things like what is it, Peter Thiel's Founders Fund, where they put different students or different young entrepreneurs, and instead of going to grad school, they'll give them like a grant and stuff and build things like that. I think they should, start that even younger, and maybe not necessarily hand younger kids money, but base them off of their kind of ability to interact and to take self initiative, aside from just a group project where I'm splitting 5 slides with you and we're not really working towards a solution. We're working towards finishing this one-dimensional kind of project.
Yeah. All right. We have
Yeah.
another question from a viewer. What advice do you have for someone who is tunnel visioned and has the right mindset on how to move forward, but their parents don't fully understand?
Ooh, this is good. I mean, so this is my mommy had expectations of me going to law school, and I certainly would like to accomplish that one day. But um, there's three people that you grow up with. There's the person that you think you should be through like kind of like your social surroundings and all your experiences. There's the person that your parents want you to be, and then in the shadow of those two is the person that you're actually becoming, and that's the person that you never listen to. Um, so I mean, unfortunately, like friends, family, girlfriends, business partners, these people will fail you at times. But as long as you kind of hold on to that, that one person that you are, um, whether it's traveling or starting an adventure, um, happiness is within. It's not on the other side of like an exit or an acquisition. So you might piss off your parents. My parents were certainly pissed off for a while, because I was supposed to go to law school, and here I am just squatting at Starbucks and at my friend's house, talking about all this crazy stuff. But I mean, they understood it once they saw how happy I was, and how happy the people around me were.
Okay. So that sort of goes in hand in hand. It's sort of like selling someone a dream, or like
Yeah.
transferring your vision to them. Like how
Oof.
would you say that you hand off that dream or you inspire others?
It was a little bit easier for me because I was really close with. I mean, I'm very close with my brother, and a lot of his friends, and like in my case, just you and everyone else, we'd be at the house, so they kind of they would they. It was very easy for them to see this transition in the whole group, as opposed to I could be leaving 5 in the morning every day, but they never really know what's happening. But it was very tangible for them because they saw this group of guys that were just kind of hanging out from time to time. Be motivated, be tasking to different solutions, and so that was like my catalyst for them to kind of understand like how serious we all took this.
Okay. Uh, how would you say Generation Y sort of sets a standard for the generations to come after us?
Oh man, that's tricky, man. What kind of question is that? I mean, we're it's changed a lot of things in the sense that we've seen the world's youngest billionaire. We're gonna be able to cure hopefully some life-threatening diseases during our time, and merge with technology maybe. I don't know. Um, but it does set a precedence because we're all solution driven. We're so accessible to tons of data so quickly that it's almost impossible for us to make an uninformed decision. Um, so I mean, I don't know how it's going to impact generations beyond because I mean, look at the crazy music we listen to. If I walk into my son's room and he's listening to like whatever it's going to sound like robots fighting each other. I'm gonna be shook, but it is what it is, and we can't be fearful of the future or of technology because it's because of us that these things are propelling.
Okay. All right. Could you speak more on the culture of Elite Daily? So not
Ooh.
necessarily, or even if you wanted to, like or
First
just
off,
speak on
Elite
like the
Daily is
main.
the coolest place in the world to work. That's
I can
kind of
second
like
that.
that's our winning edge, and that's how we kind of recruit. But I mean, it was like I'd worked in luxury, and it was a very rigid place in the sense that you gotta come in and you gotta speak a certain way, and you have to, email a certain way, and it was the farthest thing from myself that we were, doing. So that this place is somewhere you can be yourself. You can be, an Ivy League grad. You can be someone who didn't necessarily finish. You can, be from any kind of place, but at the same time, there's no one that's Of course, we have hierarchy, but there's no one that's above each other. Everyone's arm in arm. We know what the solution is in terms of what our goals are, and it's not achievable by putting anyone on a plateau, you know, next to each other. So that's a big part of it. And I was always like, why can't I have an office where we occasionally have drinks or we're play Xbox during the middle of the day. If we're gonna be here for 16 hours a day, like you gotta let me cool off for a minute. So we've created a really relaxed yet aggressive environment. So when it's time to chill, we all chill. But when it's time to work, like everyone's heads down. So, but yeah. So anyone who's watching, Lee Daily, best place ever to work.
All right, we have a question from the viewer. Alex, the Spotify founder Martin told me a couple hours ago that a business is 3% idea, 97% execution and management. What do you think about this?
I 1000% agree with this statement. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. I mean, in our case, there's, publishers that have spent millions of dollars and been doing this for way longer and have come out of historical publications and stuff. But it was just all about execution, and it's not about being right every time, but it's about being, per se, like on the field every day. So that's like a big thing about us when we started. It was like, all right, there's gonna be people who have more money than us that are better writers than us, but we will outwork them. So just making sure that we stuck with this every day, and found different solutions to our problems. So it's definitely about 99.9% execution, because I can have good ideas all day, but if I don't have the team around me to execute, then you're gonna be that person that's like crying about, oh, when yeah, you know what I'm saying, when you see them on CNBC, like, oh, I had that idea first. Like, doesn't fucking matter. Like,
Yeah. We have another question. How do you get a job at a startup?
um, I mean, it's like finding a girlfriend. I can say, we can say we love blonde, blue eyes all day, but I mean, the way that kind of we do it is just by the people joining us, and kind of having it be like a workflow thing. So there's certainly, especially within our community of like New York or NYC, and then Brooklyn, there's tons of resources, everything from like General Assembly to the tech community is very small. So there's tons of opportunity, but the one thing I would suggest is like, don't be that guy that's like in the startup world for like 7 years and never tried his own startup. That's like, you know, I'm the best. I'm the best. You can be the best person on the team at the park, or you can be a part of a Super Bowl team, and be around smart other people, and just put forth what you can.
Yeah. How
Resources
many?
like ideas.
Yeah. Would you would you sort of say, or what would you give a startup's a life before sort of making that transition over from a startup to a company per se, or like where
I
does
mean,
that divide?
no, yeah, that's shit. I don't know. No. I mean, in terms of kind of traditional sense, it's based upon revenue, and it's based upon, I guess what your staff is. But for what it was for us was that when all 30 people saw what the vision is, and we saw what the end zone looks like, that's when it becomes like a buckle down situation. Um, you know, we had people who started with us, and were okay, and some people that were great. But once you kind of get everyone on the same page, that's when we consider it to be kind of like a full blown company. When everyone can see the end zone together.
Okay, yeah, I like that. All right. In terms of trends, like you spoke on video and how we're starting to push a lot of content through video. Do you do you see anything else on the radar for now in media for people to look out for?
I mean, mobile has been absolutely massive for us. So mobile and social. So social accounts are about 50% of our traffic. And then, with our recent spike in traffic, we've seen that, it's 50 on social, and then through social is like 50% mobile. So I mean, I don't even watch TV anymore. I'll like catch my like ABC app, and I'll, kind of in between 3 and 4 in the morning, watch an episode or two, and then go back to sleep. Um, so I mean, I don't, necessarily have a prophecy for where mobile is going. I just know mobile is the wave. Like,
Yeah.
no matter where it goes, it's there.
Yeah.
And just being able to kind of connect with our users in more sense than just like, okay, they read, and then they comment. We're building a lot of technology and infrastructure behind, creating a true community. And it's something that some other publications do right now, but we're very confident that with our user base, and with how passionate they are, we can bring the discussion past just the single article, and continue to build the voice of Gen Y.
Yeah. All right, we have one more question. What From Evan, what are three qualities you're looking for in someone who is interested in working for Elite Daily?
So first off, we don't look at resumes. Like that's like asking me about my last six ex-girlfriends, and it's completely irrelevant. Like it's like that Jay-Z line. It's not where I've been, but where you're about to go. So vision is vision and kind of like a passion towards not greatness because it sounds cheesy, but someone who isn't there to just say that they're there. Someone who's there because they're willing to work 7 days a week to help you find the solution. So it's kind of like the vision, hardworking through and through. Like I hate 9 to 5 culture, just because it's what we've been ingrained in and raised in. And as much as I respect my parents and generations before me, I feel like there's so much more to be done than raising a family sometimes, and not to sacrifice the family structure, but in the sense that with all this opportunity that we're given, all the right people, all the right places, all the right, things around you. It's just like, if you didn't get what you wanted out of life, it's because you got lazy. It's not because you didn't, know where to go or know what startup to do. You lost that. So, hard work, passion, and hard work again.
Awesome. All right. Could you maybe speak on something cool coming up with Elite Daily?
I mean, so this is a really exciting time for us. Last year when I was like in our board meeting and I was like, hey, we're gonna do 15 million uniques, and at the time we were at like 750,000. Everyone's like, Jay, you need to like run through these numbers. That's so impossible. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, like I think we can do this. So last month we did about 14.175, and this month we're on track to more than double it. So, we've seen that. We are a platform that's becoming highly regarded and respected. And at the same time, that just puts a lot more pressure on us to produce editorial that goes beyond just like the cat GIF list, or kind of like these forced attempts at gaining the loyalty of Gen Y.
Okay.
And just sweet content, lots of fun. We're gonna be doing things at South by Southwest, things at Tomorrow World. So creating a tangible experience for the user as well, building out technology. Like I said, 2014 is our first year out of the gates, so there's gonna be a lot that you're hearing from us.
Okay. All right. Do you have any final words or closing thoughts to tell the viewers?
Yeah, I mean, to Tony's point earlier, don't hesitate. Just take that first punch in the face and figure it out after. But don't be that guy that's sitting on his couch, very, seeming very upset that when the next stock ticker for the company that he wanted to start, is in someone else's hands. Like, it can be your idea, but just execute. And there's going to be 4 or 5 rounds of this in your life, so get through the rounds, learn how to play, and get back on the ball.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for taking the time to speak with
Thank
us,
you.
answer the
Thank you
questions,
very much.
and I will be seeing you very soon. Thank you guys for
All right,
tuning in.
anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. We are very available, and we're always looking to talk with the people that read our site.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.